Good evening. Welcome to Dining 101. It's the companion webisode to dining101.net. I'm your host, Mr. Wolfe. Anyway, we had a little introduction last week. Today we're going to get a little bit more into the meat of it, the actual place setting, and as you take your table at the restaurant. There's a lot more nuances than you might think. So let's start right at the top, and we'll just kind of hit these little by little and have a little fun with it. First off, let's talk about hats. Go Giants. Modern day etiquette dictates that men do not wear their hats indoor in a restaurant, especially at night. Women are allowed because a lot of times it's a part of their outfit. So they're allowed to, men are not. If you did wear your hat indoors in a restaurant at night, it might be disrespectful to your fellow diners and to the chef. So, until next time, there you go. The other thing I want to touch on real quick is perfume, or cologne, or toilet water, whatever the kids are calling it nowadays. Everybody wants to smell good, especially if you're on a date, but you've got to be very sensitive to your fellow diners and your companion diner. If you're going out for a $100 dinner and you're having some fancy wine and fancy food, I think that's what you want to smell, and that's what they want to smell, because a lot of the appreciation of that food and wine is coming from the smell. So in other words, I'm just trying to say they're there to smell the food and the wine, not so much your toilet water. So moving right along, you're coming into your table, and I want everybody to kind of get in mind their grandma who always told you to sit up straight. Why, Grandma? Well, there's a reason for it. You want to take the table, you want to sit in your chair, straight back, legs straight down, both feet flat on the floor. Why, Mr. Wolfe? Well, I want you to be comfortable, but there's a point where you're so comfortable that it's impossible to serve you. If you have your chair way the heck out here, you know, I know some gals don't have a purse hook, so they put their purse back there. Now their chair is like 4 feet away. There's no way to get past your table for the fellow diners and the restaurant staff. That would be bad. So get yourself a purse hook, have your purse hanging off the table, because we don't want it on the floor either. That would be bad. And people can trip over it, and it becomes a hazard. You certainly don't want it on the top of the table as well. So you've got your chair in here. You don't want to be sitting all cross-legged and whatnot with your feet and your knees and everything all hanging out. How is the person supposed to serve you at this point? It's going to be hard because you've got your extremities all hanging out. So we like to say, keep your hands and feet in the right at all times until the ride is over, and that's when you leave the building. So back to position one. Chair in, sitting up straight, both feet flat on the floor, and you want to just kind of occupy your space, not everybody's space. Some people, especially guys, like to kind of take over the whole table and push all their crap in the middle and have their knees out like this and their elbows on the table because you're a big guy and you're alpha male. We appreciate that. However, if you've got your elbows out like this and your knees out like this, again, I'm not going to be able to serve you your 32-ounce porterhouse steak and clear you and serve your beverages properly. So, again, just a friendly reminder, tuck it all in, keep it all in. And since we've already talked about elbows, let's go back there real quick. Elbows on the table, we've kind of lightened up on this whole rule since the olden days when your hands had to stay down here and you ate like this and your elbows couldn't touch the table whatsoever. It's actually okay to put your elbows on the table between courses. I'm going to give you this. However, I do want you to be a little observant, and when somebody is trying to serve you food, you need to get them off the table and let that food or drink arrive. Also, when they're clearing your plates, you're all done, you've put your silverware in the proper position, you've got to get back to your position one so they can clear this stuff. There's a couple other times. If they're delivering menus, especially dessert menus, you're engaged in conversation, your date's going really well, the business deal's going really well. I just need a second for you to come back, position one, let the dessert menu come in. There's one final stage. When the restaurant folk are crumbing the table, that's a really good time to get your elbows off the table, come back, let them crumb the table, create a nice, sexy space for you to get your deal done, and then you can go back to elbows on the table when they're done crumbing the table. So we've talked about that and that. We brushed on purses a little bit. Again, you want to keep them off the top of the table. There's a couple other things you want to keep off the top of the table. This is really your dining space. This is where all your food and your beverage is going to happen. And what's happening more and more nowadays is we've got a phone over here, we've got a wallet in here, we've got keys over here, we've got sunglasses over here, we've probably got a camera over here because everybody likes to take photos of their food nowadays. We've still got your place setting to deal with, so we've got wine glasses, now we've got water glasses, now we've got cocktails coming in, we've got knives over here, we've got bread plates, we've got candles, we've got salt and peppers, we've got fresh flowers. It's starting to get a little busy around here if you get my drift. So I would suggest sunglasses or reading glasses for that matter. Use them when you need to and then put them away. Keys could probably go in your purse or your pocket, so those need to go away. Your wallet needs to go away somewhere. Maybe your girlfriend can put it in her purse for you. Phones definitely need to go away. We're here to dine. Now, texting, talking on the phone, taking photos of your food. Kind of a touchy subject. I'll compromise. I'll meet you halfway. If you need to text, let's do it when nothing else is going on. If I'm taking the order, if I'm telling you the specials, you shouldn't be talking on the phone or texting them. You can do it later. If you want to take a quick photo of your food, send it to somebody or put it on Facebook, I don't really have a problem with that, but we need to put that away afterwards. Remember, that can go away as well. So just bring it out when you need it. So now we've got the space. I wanted to touch real quickly on the banquette rule. The banquette, you know, in the old days, restaurants all had freestanding tables. Then we wanted to jam more seats in there so we could newborn business. So we invented something called the banquette. The banquette is that kind of bench seating where there's a table in front and then there's one chair on the other side. Now, on the banquette is what we call position 1 or seat 1, and that's where the lady's supposed to sit. So the lady sits on the banquette, that gives her a view of the restaurant and she gets to people watch. The man takes the chair. Why, Mr. Wolfe? Well, a couple reasons. One is, in the old days, the man would want to sit kind of between his date and the rest of the room to protect her from rubes and the like. Highly unlikely a bar fight's going to break out in your favorite restaurant, but could happen, so you want to be there to protect her. Number 2, she gets the view and she gets to see if there's somebody else wearing an outfit similar to her so they can time their trips to the restroom or to the buffet accordingly. Also, a handy tip for the guys, it will probably prevent you from people watching too much when you're on a date, and you don't want to get in trouble like that. So, moving right along. Let's come down to outside drinks. Every so often, somebody's going into a restaurant and you're not shopping around. It's not like going into a shoe store when it's not 100% done deal that you're going to buy some shoes. If you're coming into a restaurant and you're sitting down at a table, it's 100% that you're going to buy some food or beverage. So it would be a little bit tacky to bring in your own coffee or soda or water or whatever from outside. I don't know how they do it in New Orleans or Vegas, but it's just generally frowned upon, so it'd be a little tacky. So I would recommend you avoid that. I think we have just enough time to go over the place setting, and then we're going to have to save the rest for next week. So without further ado, here's your basic American setup. You're usually going to have the bread plate on the left. That's because your beverage is on the right. Most people are right-handed, so we'll keep the beverages over there, bread over here. You've got a fork, you've got a knife, you got a napkin, you got a wine glass, you got a water glass. Napkin, first thing you do when you sit down, goes in your lap, and it stays in your lap until you leave the building. If you have to go potty, it stays in your seat. It never comes up on the table, doesn't get wadded up after your meal and thrown in the middle for everybody else to look at until you leave the building. So, goes in your lap, stays in your lap or your chair until you leave the building. Bread plate stays on the left. You don't move it over here. It's not your appetizer. The bread isn't the first course. And we'll talk more about bread next week and the origin of bread and the proper way to do bread and butter. But let's leave it over here because your first course is going to go here. Fork is over here. Sometimes you'll see an appetizer fork over here. That's because the restaurateur wants to set it in your mind. that you're going to order 2 courses, a first course and a second course. So it may or may not be there. But anyway, as a safeguard, always just start from the outside and work your way in. So you want to use this fork first and then work up to the other one. Knife, not so hard, it's going to be right there. Wire glass on the right, they're normally going to graduate this way so it's easy for the person to pour the wine, pour the water, and whatnot. Cocktail service is going to happen right at 12 o'clock with your garnish at 4 o'clock. And 12 o'clock I mean right here. 4 o'clock your little lime and your Cosmo is going to be right here so you can squeeze it in and operate. And that way you don't knock over your drink with the menu. So that is pretty much the basic setup. Next week we'll get more into what happens after you order and when the food starts to arrive. But until then, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is one of our very first webisodes of Dining 101 with Mr. Wolfe. I'm your host. This is the companion to dining101.net, the website where you can learn all sorts of great things about dining etiquette. So until next week, cheers. Dine well, dine right.